picture, where are we at? Okay, so some of the real interesting things was on the left, I see a dragon.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yes. I see, like, here's the lower jaw.
Yes.
And maybe some teeth, and I see some nostrils here. I see an eye here. I see some horns way up in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very profound, I thought.
Yes.
That he showed up. And then on the right, to me, looks like a serpent, sort of fire breathing, whatever.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure what the body was, but the head was pronounced.
Yes,
and,
here's the top of the head, and here's the top of the mouth. The fire coming out, and then the lower.
Right. And in his mouth, in that fire, there's a whole lot going on.
I know. I'm just going to say, I feel like there's something here. There almost looks like a small figure.
Yes. Yes. Figures laying down, figures standing up. I mean, it's.
Yeah, there's another face over here. It looks like there's a bunch of stuff over here.
Yeah. That is a troubling scene. And, what is it to project? I think just the troubled times we're kind of going through. All the anger and the hate and the division, I think was being depicted in some of this.
Yeah, as we're talking about this and I'm looking at the picture, the word turmoil comes up.
Turmoil, right.
Like, just there's, especially in this fire, there's just so much turmoil.
Yes.
Holds a lot of emotion. Seems to have a lot of emotion.
And I think this is one that's for the collective, was a foreseeing of what was coming.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And the next picture was, so this, I was standing outside Barnes and Noble because the storm was coming. And on the left side is the dark. You can see where the storm is actually, the whole wall of the storm was coming in very fast. The right side was where you could still see sky and sun coming through. But that profile, the white profile, looks like a skeleton almost. Yes, here was so vivid. So I got back out of my car, and mind you now, the wind was horizontal, blowing, rain was pouring down.
It's raining sideways.
And I'm sitting outside my car taking pictures. Again, people are looking at me like, what is she doing? However, it was moving so quickly. I knew I had to get it in that instant, because otherwise the storm would have covered up that profile. But again, just, I think the turmoil was being shown here again.
That's interesting, because I almost see like there's another, like a large figure here. Interesting.
Yes.
Every time I look at your pictures, I see more and more.
Oh, you do. When you look at a picture, you're going to see different things all the time. And that's what sometimes I will have a picture just lay on a table. And as I walk by, glance at it, and I'm going to see something different from a distance than you do holding it. It just, something will catch your eye and you will see different things in it. So as I always recommend, like, if you open up the book and you open to a page, just let it lay on the coffee table, open it up and let it lay open. And as you walk by, take a glance, you might see something different. And that face over his shoulder there, that I had to digitally draw in because people would not have seen it, but that was his face over his shoulder too.
Wow. I almost see something up here too.
Right. I know.
The more you look at these, the more you see more and more.
Yeah, you do. That's what I mean. That was the dimension I was talking about that was in those.
Oh, yes.
So the next picture too was more on the dark side. This picture was part of a very large picture, and there was a spot within a cloud that drew my attention. So that's why it's a little fuzzy, because I really had to zoom to get this. But the first feeling I got from this was a tormented soul. Um,
Yeah.
and on the right side, it's showing the face. And
Right.
on the left side is a profile. You can see eyes, nose, and a mouth watching. Yes.
Mouth, nose,
Yeah.
eyes here,
No, eyes are up.
up here.
Well, you're right. There's a smaller face in the middle. Then
Mhm.
there's this large face. So there's the large face. Yes, there's eyes there.
Okay, I see. I see.
But you were correct. In the middle, there's a smaller face too with eyes, nose, and mouth.
And it's
Within so that
within this, yes. It almost looks like this has faces
yes.
embedded within a larger
And
being,
that's
a
right.
larger
And the same on the left, there's faces within. Yep. There's the
right
little
here,
face. Yep.
right there.
Yeah.
Oh,
And this is
wow.
so common. I could have one picture of a face and you can find profiles, you can find a face straight on, you can see faces within faces. It's just amazing the dimension of what you will see.
Wow. You have me very, very curious about looking at clouds and being more particular about when I look up, what am I seeing, and take a
Right.
picture,
Right.
and then what else can be seen when you allow yourself
Right.
to
And
kind of
if you see something in the picture, on your camera, you can go in and adjust the light and the darkness and the contrast. That will bring to the front something too.
okay.
The contrast will help. And you're not changing the picture. You're
Mhm.
not editing the picture. You are only bringing forward what's there to see.
Wow.
So the next picture is my little land before time dinosaurs,
This
right
is
in the
one of
middle.
my favorites.
And the big brontosaurus above them. You can kind of
This
see,
right here.
yeah, see the long neck and there's his body. Yeah.
Yes. Meanwhile, you've got Land Before
Yeah,
Time. I think is it
yeah,
Sarah
yeah,
and Ducky
yeah.
from
I'm not
Land
sure.
Before Time?
Okay, yeah, their names. I've forgotten their names, but yes. Little, is that Littlefoot? Or I don't
Little,
remember.
yeah, there was Littlefoot, there was Ducky, Petrie, and Sarah.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. I can't believe I just remembered those names.
I know. I thought that was so precious. This was part of the whole dinosaur series I was being shown.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that there is so much whimsy. There's so much whimsical stuff in these pictures
yeah,
that really does help to or to counteract and balance, with some of the other images that aren't so
right,
whimsical and fun.
right.
So,
And I guess another affirmation of what was on our land, what roamed our land,
mhm.
and someday will we see them again? Who knows?
Who knows? Who
I
knows?
the next one's very whimsical, but it was part of the dinosaurs as well. I just thought this was adorable.
Oh my goodness.
They're so
There's
happy.
so much going on here.
I know they're cheering. They're happy. You can almost hear them singing.
You can see the smiles on the faces.
Yes. Yeah. The energy from this one was wonderful. Yeah.
Great energy.
Full of joy. Yeah. And just a
Very,
reminder that we need to be full of joy. And in the very back, you see those blue figures with the yellow eyes. I, in the
back here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is depicting no matter what's going on in the world, find your joy. Be
Yeah.
happy. Be happy. Keep keep a high vibration going and try to find the joy in your life.
Finding joy. And one of the things that I try to remember to, even on the days when we maybe say we can't access joy because of what we feel or what we see what's going on, or maybe things that are going on in our personal life, if we can start with gratitude. Something simple of, you know what, I'm grateful for this body, this breath, this life. I'm grateful for my family or my community, or I'm, grateful for my career or my hobbies. That
Right.
is a really good way to access the joy when we can't always feel it, is starting with gratitude. So, but I
Yeah.
love this picture. It's definitely letting us know to be grateful and to be joyful.
Yeah. And celebrate life.
Yeah.
they're celebrating together. And I love that. All creatures, great and small.
Yes. Yes.
It's very eclectic. So the
Very.
next picture is very interesting.
Oh my goodness.
I know the face on the left is a recent one, and there's three faces in that. So there's the face in the front, the forward.
This one.
Yep. And then a profile in the lower. Yep. There. And then the one behind looks like a Joker face or laughing face.
Yeah, they look like they're definitely laughing.
Well, just the one in the back I get is laughing.
Mm-hmm.
But
This one looks a little more solemn.
yes. Yeah. And the front one looks very intent.
Very.
To me, this is, I think, one of the political clouds. I do get some things that are political. And, what are they saying to us? I don't know. But read what you want.
I mean, there's definitely a mood with this one.
Yes. It's very intent.
And it's funny that you say Joker, because I'm looking at this picture and I'm thinking about this very intentional, solemn face is what we're seeing in the front. So it's forward facing.
Yeah.
Then to the side, meaning, and maybe I'm applying way too much psychology here, but it's almost like this is another aspect of, and I can't remember what word we used to describe his expression.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like this is another aspect of it, and then really in the truth, in the very, very back is the maybe malicious or so interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's like all the vibrations that are going on right now that we feel in our political forum. It's like he's laughing at us because who knows the truth? We are all questioning the truth. And it's like, this person in the background is kind of like,
I know the truth, or I know what's really going on.
Right. And laughing at us. So, I think that one spoke volumes. I just defined this one last night, and or the night before. Wow. This is a recent one, the night before last, and I thought I have to put this in the slide presentation. So
this one really is fascinating because there are just so many things that I see about it, like this face, this forward facing image or person's face, and it's very large and it's very pronounced.
Right. In your face, basically. Right.
In your face, can't ignore it.
Yes.
And there's almost
very intent, very driven.
This is very silly, but maybe not. But this almost looks like a shirt.
Yeah, that's a chimney.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, because I'm pointing up, and that's actually my fireplace chimney on the house. Oh. But it does look like the coat of this person
that's turned to the
profile.
Side.
Yes.
Yeah. And the way that the eyes look, it's almost like it's looking back at, like it's looking back, or turning the back.
Yes.
Turning their back on something or someone.
Right.
And then right after that, you see the forward facing. Again, I think Joker face is really excellent way to describe this. So
that's the impression I got when I first looked at it.
Yeah.
The Joker face. So
I have to say that this might be my most favorite now, just because there's so much meaning to it when you really start to analyze it.
Yeah. Yeah. It speaks volumes, I think.
And what about this one here?
That one is the only picture in here that's not a cloud. This came to me on a beautiful damask Irish tablecloth.
Okay, this is the tablecloth.
Yes. I was taking a picture of it to share with my cousin who loves all things Irish. And as I was going through the pictures, this face was in the tablecloth.
Oh my God.
Just looking at me. And I'm like, oh no. Okay, this is a first. It's not a cloud. I'm seeing pictures, and it was so defined. I think my husband looked at it and he says it seems more almost Tibetan or, from that region, the square jaw, the flatter face,
I was gonna say the nose,
wider
and
nose. Yeah.
the square jaw, and also the cheekbones
Yes. Higher
and the shape
cheekbone.
of the eye seem.
Right.
I could see Tibetan. I could see more Asian.
Yeah.
And they're looking over to the side.
Yes. And he has this wild black hair.
Yes, lots
Up-
and lots of black hair
and
here.
the thing on the top of his head was part of the design of the tablecloth. So that's where his face appeared. And I don't know what he's looking at, but he certainly wanted to be seen.
He looks
He
a little apprehensive.
Yes, that was definitely the impression I got. Yes. And I looked at the rest of the tablecloth and nothing came through as to what he was looking at, because it was driving me nuts too.
Yeah.
I kept taking pictures of what was to his left, well, actually his right. If you turn it around, it was like what he was looking to his right. And it has yet to appear to me. So let me just say that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, some big faces lately. The next slide is also another face that just came through. You can see the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. I mean,
yeah, this seems like the forehead.
Yes.
Outline of the eyes.
Right.
Nose here. This one feels very masculine as well.
Yes, it does. Very, to me, almost disciplinarian, authoritative.
I get that same feeling. The eyes are very piercing.
Stern. Yeah.
And like you said, very like looking down upon, almost like a feeling of passing judgment or.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought, what are you looking at? What are you looking at me like this for? So the next picture was a really strange one. I felt like I was looking through a dimensional portal into another time. The clothing suggests a different time period. There's two people there.
I see an arm here, like on the hip. I see a face.
A face, right? And then
another arm, and then I see like this long, billowy either coat or dress.
Correct. I think that is a feminine figure. And behind her is the dark figure in the face, right? More of that's masculine figure. And I think he's holding her arm there. And they're walking, but there is a very large figure behind them as well. The white, all consuming. So, but I never touched this picture. I didn't colorize it. This was what came through on the cloud. And so to me, it was almost like I was looking through a portal.
Wow.
Another dimension that was going on at the same time I was taking this picture.
Well, one thing I just noticed as you're saying that you felt like this one was a portal, I was looking at the date. It's February 20th of 2022. That's a lot of twos in one day.
Yes, you're right. You're right. 2/20/2022. Wow, I didn't even notice that.
I know that things like February 2nd, February March 3rd, those that have, the same repetitive numbers, they have a tendency to be portal days. So I really, really resonated with what you were saying about feeling like this one.
Okay, well, there's the validation again. We'll have to remember to celebrate Portal Day. I'll have to take more pictures on Portal Days.
Yes, I would be very curious to see if there is, and this may be something that you look into later if it resonates, but you could do nothing but just Portal Day pictures and see what comes through.
Yeah, I would definitely make note of that. Interesting. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you for taking these amazing pictures.
Well, the next one, let's see if I have the date on the next one, because that too, to me, what was the date?
May 31st, 2023.
So These figures were just standing like leisurely. I mean, you could see my trees.
Yeah.
And guy, she's just like almost like the Roaring Twenties kind of a costume or dress, leaning against the wall. The male figure or the masculine figure is more behind the trees. But like they're just casually having a conversation.
Yes. These are astounding.
I love them.
I love them because each one is so very unique, so very different. And the more you look at them, the more you see.
Yeah. I never know what's going to be shown and why. But so the next picture is actually a picture by Marc Chagall. And I also have some in here by Salvador Dali. These artists, I believe, also saw Beyond the Veil, because some of their drawings and their artwork is so interesting. When I delve into the dimensions of the clouds, this is kind of what shows up. These smaller figures, they're whimsical. Some are human, some are not. Some are strange animals, and Marc Chagall definitely captured that in his artwork, and I find it just really amazing and interesting. So, I wish it was something I could have talked to them and found out about. And then the next picture is one of mine that's not similar, but I mean the same concept. I did
very, very, very similar.
I colored half of it and left the other half uncolored to show what the actual cloud looked like and what I was picking up out of the cloud. And that's what makes me think maybe they too had this gift and could see and could draw what they saw. It's makes you wonder. The next one also is a picture of just all faces that showed up. And I just found this really interesting. I just kept drawing. It was just face after face after face. And just the hand in the middle to me was a more of the Hindu, how do I say that? Like a unity hand.
Yes.
And showing everyone. And I guess it came to me like, this is what we should be doing. We should all be acceptant of each other. And it showed us all different nationalities and expressions. And
so there's so much different emotion. There's so much going on in here, yet we're all unified by our connection to spirit.
Right. So I like this one too.
What's interesting is when you talked about the hand, I kind of got this almost like this is a praying hand. So that unification through prayer or meditation,
right?
That connection, that's beautiful. So beautiful.
I love it. I love that one. What was the date of that one?
This one, it says 11/22/21.
Okay, 2021. So a lot of ones.
Yeah, and back during 2021, I'm also thinking about what was going on collectively at the time that these pictures were taken.
Yes.
That's another, like it's almost like these pictures are like a timestamp of like, this is what was going on this day, and this is what the energies in the ether were presenting for us to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. You have to go back and see during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. It's amazing.
The next one is the picture of Salvador Dali painting the Ecumenical Council, I think it's called. And in that picture, it shows, there you go.
Yeah. I wanted to try to make that bigger and
the
thumbnails smaller. There we go.
And I only grabbed a portion of the painting. The painting itself is just beautiful. But what captured my eye is the self-portrait of himself painting on canvas, and right to the right are clouds.
Yes. I can see a face right here.
Yes. Yeah. And the
Wow.
fact that he depicted that, and right to the right of his head, there's another cloud with a little face, like a little grumpy face.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't help but think, because I should have taken a snapshot of the whole picture, the Ecumenical Council, because there's so much going on in that. But again, I have to ask, did he see things in clouds? Was he also relaying what he saw on the canvas? So,
My gut says yes.
oh, I know, and what fabulous artists they were to be
Yeah.
able to transfer that to canvas. I mean, I struggle with the digital art, and they actually did with on canvas. So, kudos to them.
Yes.
The next picture is kind of interesting. This was another picture I just took in the morning going to work, and where I have it circled, it almost looks like, well, the next picture shows a close-up of it. It almost looks like hieroglyphics or light language or something, but it was very pronounced in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was put there. So now I just have to find someone that reads hieroglyphics because I do not. So anybody out there watching this, if you read
if there's anyone out there that can read hieroglyphics, please
let us
know what this says.
Yeah.
I would love to know.
Again, taken on a day with a lot of ones, 11/10/2021.
Yes.
So I'd love to know the message of that. However, also in that picture, the picture of the overall picture, that one. So now I'm going to show you what I see behind the sun and in the clouds. If you scroll to, yes, it is an Egyptian city. All of this showed up to me as I was defining it. I mean, there's colosseums, there's the Sphinx, there's roads and buildings, and it's like a whole Egyptian city.
Yes, I can see all the different houses, and it looks like this sounds really strange, but what do you make of this?
Like a Sphinx?
Yes.
A crypt or a Sphinx? Yeah.
Yes. And do you see this as like a road or?
Yes.
Okay.
Leading down to the water, because there's a boathouse and there's boats down there. Yep.
Okay, and here's the water?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And it goes up to the mountains where the buildings are and everything. And that blew me away when I started defining this picture. So those hieroglyphics or those writings have to be significant to this time period. And I'm not sure what it's saying to me, but it's definitely.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, definitely speaking to this time.
I almost get the feeling of Sumerian when I go back. Let me go back to that. I went a little too far advanced. I'm wondering if this could also be, again, I'm not a history person. I'm not an archaeologist, but almost could be Sumerian in writing. Or hieroglyphs. Right. I see lots and lots of little things here that could maybe even possibly be more of this light language or this.
Yes.
It's just
when Leisha saw this, she just said major download.
Yeah. Like in some ways, like when I look at this, and again, this is just, free thinking, whatever, but it almost appears that there is not only like a story being told in this picture, like this right here, the Sphinx, but for some reason I find it really interesting that they were showing all of the city and what was behind the Sphinx.
Right.
And the significance of this road. And I'm very curious about this right here. It almost looks like another face.
Yes.
And maybe like an entrance to a temple.
Yeah.
But
There are some other faces. If you go up in the back there, keep going a little up and to the left. Yes, right there.
This one, I
Yeah.
see that one there.
I
I
know.
see something over here possibly, and
Yes.
maybe another
Yep.
face here.
And right directly down from that is another, yep, right there is another one.
There. And this looked very much like either a face, or I see like an outstretched arm figure, or even possibly something like a phoenix, seeing wings here,
Okay.
head and a body.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot.
There's so much.
Picture. This was very unique. I had not received anything like that or since then like this, where it has all of this in there.
It
So that
is just quite fascinating. And it almost looks like in certain places, it looks like to me, this looks like roads or walls of housing, or
right,
again,
like this is built into the walls.
into the civilization or into the walls, something
Yes.
like that. And
Yes.
these almost could be like water coming out of something.
Yeah, I think some of those are figures too. I'm not sure.
And I
The
see
ones
figures
I
here.
see,
Oh, this
yeah.
maybe could be two figures.
Yes, yeah, that looks like figures there.
Wow.
I know.
It's just quite amazing. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah, that one was. It took a while to define.
Oh, it would have taken me weeks to get
Yeah, it
everything
was something I
done.
had to keep coming back to. It was,
Yeah.
it was, it was like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. I kept, I'd put it down, but I couldn't wait to get back to it to complete the picture.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. And if you go up to the sky, you can also see faint faces. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go back to where we were.
Okay.
Just above those buildings. Yeah. You can see faint faces. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their eye and then the nose.
Something up here. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Just amazing.
okay. So we'll move on. The next picture is some of the aquatic that I've got. But what was interesting in this one is what showed up in the upper right corner. Some off-planet beings looking down. Yeah. This is kind of when in my journey that I started receiving pictures of other beings. They wanted to be seen. So they were kind of sneaking in some of the pictures, and I don't know who they are, what they are, but they wanted to be seen.
Wow. It almost looks like these definitely look more like either feline eyes to me, or like wolf, or I don't know. There's just,
Yeah. I don't know either.
and this looks more aquatic, like fish-like.
Right.
This
Yeah.
looks like shark energy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And there's just some invisible watchers above the fish there.
Yes.
Just outlines. All they showed of themselves was outlines. Yeah.
Wow.
Not as defined as the beings in the upper right. So, so the next picture, you're going to ask, why did I take this picture? Why am I showing this? Because nobody sees anything in it. However, and at the time I questioned myself, why did I take it? But again, I was being led. So what I'm going to show you comes out of just below the sun in the very lower left corner, below the sun there, at the very bottom. Yes, that is what I'm going to show you now in the picture that comes up. So it's kind of grainy because, as you see, I had to blow it up.
Right.
But go ahead. So this looked to me like avian people, bird race or something. So at the top, you can see an eye, and it comes down a very long snout there, the beak. Yeah. And the mouth and everything. And then At the top next to him, I call him the granddaddy. Him is another smaller beaked, and I feel masculine energy from him.
Mm-hmm.
And then right below him, he's looking over the shoulder of a very feminine energy. You can see her face. She has a hair braid coming down. And yes, yeah. And you can see her feathers. And next to her is a child. It's kind of hard in this picture. She's holding a child in her lap. Yeah.
Right here? Or
No, right there is the child.
Okay. Okay, I see it.
This is a family portrait. This is, they wanted to be seen. That's why I had that picture, why I was prompted to take that picture. And this picture has actually animated itself. Little granddaddy there has winked at me several times. So I feel a lot of love out of this picture, that the energy of the close-knit family. And just the fact that to let us know, there are other beings out there, other races, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was pretty astounded when I saw this one.
Now that I see the child and once I saw the braid, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. I think the next one might be a close-up, or I defined it better. Let me see. Oh, I backed up. And I did try to define a little bit on that one. The other one I didn't draw anything on. That was just the original. This one I did draw a little to try to show a little bit more. And then the next picture shows her close-up, and her hat, or what's on her head, almost looks like another sort of some little being. Yeah.
Yeah, I see the two eyes right here.
Yeah. And look at her eyes. She has two pupils. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Two light up, two pupils.
Wow.
But yeah, she's wearing some kind of headdress. So I wonder, if she isn't the important one in the picture. I don't know.
And what's interesting is it almost has that same feeling as, at least to me, the energy of it and these designs, they almost go back to the one where you found, the hieroglyphs and the light language and the Egyptian. So it kind of has the same feeling, which would make sense because I believe there were several different Egyptian gods or goddesses that were of avian.
Ah.
And there's also an ET group called the Blue Avians. So there's just so much. There's so much.
Wow. I never knew that, because I also got the feeling of an Egyptian with her headdress like that.
Oh, wow.
Blue avian, and they do have a tint of blue to them. Like I said, I didn't touch up anything. Wow, that is interesting.
So much information.
Yeah. So my journey has expanded from clouds to these beings wanting to be seen. Then we start, the next slide goes into even something more strange, pictures that I didn't take. So now this one actually showed up on my sister's camera. She had gone to a recital of her granddaughter, and we were looking at her pictures, and this one came up and she said, oh, it's all blurry. She said, trash it. I said, whoa, bring it back. I said, there's light language on there, and there's something in this picture. Let me take it home. So I did, and I did a reverse negative on it. So the next picture shows the reverse negative.
Oh, wow.
This has an amazing story. There's an overall story about the rising of the feminine, of what's going on in the world today. And this woman with the long braid is featured throughout this picture of her traveling through time. And I think some of this shows me a timeline. Like, first you see prehistoric animals.
Back here.
Yes. And her riding. And then if you keep following that line, she's actually riding like some sort of a horse or whatever.
Right here.
In the front, the forefront, to me, it almost shows like the crucified Christ.
I was going to say this looks like some sort of depiction of a
Jesus.
crucifixion. Again, we see looks like crown of thorns.
Right.
We see hands up.
And I think this was for a timeline to show, and behind him, even next to him, even I think an older, or the one right in the, yes, here, yes. I'm not sure what timeline that's supposed to be, but maybe back to Aristotle. I don't know. Scholarly look.
I was looking at the face and how angular it is, and I just kind of wonder if it's some sort of multi-dimensional being.
Yeah, it could very well be.
And I noticed that he's facing the other direction. I get it as a masculine feeling, but he's facing towards like he's facing the opposite direction of every other
right. So
every other figure.
Yes.
So it's like he's not necessarily on the same page, or again, we could go into all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, his timeline's different, or was he back further, looking even back further than the crucifixion?
Yeah, yeah.
So she, to me, looks very Native American with her braid, or of some origin, maybe, it could have gone back to the Incas, or hard to define, but I would say before Christ, there it starts maybe.
Yeah.
So then it just shows her going through time, and the rising of the feminine, her coming up. And I think that's what we're experiencing too. The earth is feminine, the rising of this dimension, the earth to another dimension.
The earth, yes, very much so. And I noticed that she's moving in the other direction.
Right.
I like she's starting here, or at least we're seeing her here. And then we see her in these different scenes doing different things. What's interesting is there's almost like a little figure here.
Yes, like a monkey.
Yes, I was going to say it looks like a monkey, and he looks like he's pointing towards Christ.
Yes, yes.
But it also looks like he's making contact with this figure here.
Right. And there's a man behind that figure too. And to me, he looks almost Neanderthal, more primitive man. So again, another timeline, along with the primitive animals, the prehistoric animals. So there's a lot of timelines going on. And
there's so much going on in this one.
I know, but I think it is the evolution of women, the evolution of the feminine, to our current day now, with the rising of the new dimension, and the frequencies and the vibrations are softer and more feminine.
One other thing too that I noticed is that she's very, very dark here.
Yes.
She seems lighter and more etheric here.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. As she goes through.
As she goes forward. Wow.
Right. And at the top right, I have there, that must be significant, because these drawings, the lines that are drawn on this picture are significant. They're to bring attention to it. So whoever sent me these pictures, like I say, they just show up. They showed up on my sister's camera. They showed up on my camera. We did not. The next one we're going to show is did not take it, but the messages in these are highlighted by these similar markings, like, look at here, this is what's important on this picture. So the black line and then the blue heavy lines at the top were also put on here. So this purple big swoosh at the top there, yeah, that one has a face, and their arms are reaching out, offering something, telling something, inviting something. I'm not quite sure.
I can see it. It's almost like here's the face.
Yes.
This is like a cloak or some sort of robe, and here's the shoulder. There's
Right.
the arm and the outstretched hand, and then this looks like the body.
Right. So is that itself just feminine energy reaching out? Because this whole thing to me is all about that. So I haven't quite decided what the top right means yet.
Yeah.
I got most of it, but I think there's still a lot more message in this picture yet to be defined.
So much more. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
And the
So,
other thing too, one other thing I'll notice, and then I'll,
mhm.
This shape up here,
Yeah.
and then this same echoed shape again,
Yes.
and then it's also here too.
Yes. Right.
In 3 different places. Very interesting.
Right. So we'll have to work on this one.
Yeah.
So then the next picture, I was just out taking pictures of clouds, and I came home to look at them, and the picture on the left showed up on my camera, and I'm like, well, what is this? I did not take this picture. And the odd thing was my pictures on either side of it were still sequential. So this one was just put in the middle. And again, I put it through the reverse negative.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, the picture on the right shows up, and it looks almost like computer language next to him, some sort of light language, definitely.
Yes.
That came along with this picture. And on his jaw, I think I expanded in the next slide. I expand on his jaw again are these same kind of lines,
Mm-hmm.
and the numbers, the like a light language as well.
Wow. What's interesting about this is that this really does look like some sort of pattern. And I'm going to go back to the picture that we saw
Bigger
before.
one.
You're going to think this is silly, but it almost looks like an aerial view of something to me.
I never thought of that. Okay.
But again, there also could be symbols hidden in the aerial picture.
Right.
Because this is just so very precise.
It is. Almost reminds me of computer language.
It reminds me of like I guess a circuit board.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But it also reminds me of like when you're flying in a plane and you look over a city and you can see the roads, and then maybe you see like a mall.
Right.
So for some reason, I'm also seeing that too. And then this looks like maybe a little subdivision.
Yes. Right. Interesting. I love it. I never thought of that.
But it also has that circuit board feel because again, it's very pixelated is the word I guess I'm thinking of.
But he's intently looking at it as well.
Yeah, he's looking at it. Almost looks like he's looking down on it.
So then the message on his mouth or his jaw, again, is very defined, those lines, the up and the down. Mm-hmm. And to me, those almost look like number 2, but the feathered ones, the ones that have the top with the feather, actually is some sort of a symbol in the Egyptian. I think I looked that up once, but it didn't say what it meant. But I found that symbol. It just didn't tell me what it meant. I've seen that in some of the works of that they would carve into the stone on their buildings and stuff. Has that feathered symbol. So, but the bigger message to this one is in the next screen. So I took this picture and I changed it again to another reverse negative, and it's a birth. That is like a little baby, like you would have over your knee. So I put an arrow to direct. So that's the little hind end and the legs coming down. So that's a baby, a birth. And it's a little girl baby. It's a feminine baby. Again, the birth of the feminine. This is the time of what's going on in our collective right now, I think, in our earth. So they were, again, speaking volumes about this.
And they did an amazing job of communicating all of this to you.
No, pictures I never took.
Sometimes they have to intervene just a tiny bit,
Yes,
apparently.
I know. So they had to send quite a few of them, like, drive it home. The next picture was, again, I almost threw away. I thought it was just something I mistook, but I took it and I put it upside down. A lot of these pictures, sometimes you have to turn sideways, upside down. Same thing with cloud pictures. They're not always straight. You may have to rotate them to see something. But I saw this feminine face, and above her, it to me looked like she was like something of knowledge. She was being given knowledge.
Almost like a download from.
Yes, from a higher, maybe her higher self. I'm not sure, but that she was receiving some sort of a download. And then the actual figure itself, the arms reaching out. The next one reminded me of the Masonic symbol. So I just took a snapshot of that quick.
Yeah, I can see the similarities in the shape.
Right.
And I noticed on the next slide, I'm not trying to jump ahead too much.
Oh, go ahead.
But I see this even resonates even more.
Right.
The outstretched hands.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. The Council of Five, that Galactic Federation, which gets into another whole subject.
It's interesting because, even in the slides, the pictures that you've shown, there's definitely almost like a story unfolding of showing the different emotions, showing, the history of, different animal species and the evolution. And then we get into, the Native American stuff. And then they're showing the rise of the feminine, and showing and depicting all the chaos that was happening in 2021. And then they're now bringing in this Council of Five looking image. Just beautiful.
Council of Five, I think, in being our galactic star family, bringing down knowledge. That's what I get from that. And this, I think, we're looking at is the future, where, this whole cloud thing wasn't only showing us the past and the present, but also the future, where we're moving to.
Yes.
And this, I think, is very significant in itself, that this knowledge will be brought to us from our star family, from galactic worlds. Who knows what we're going to see, but it's coming.
I think it's already, in some ways, it's already here. And I know we chatted about this just briefly the other day when I was really, really interested in why I really wanted you to do, to come on the podcast and share all of this, is because of some of the similarities that I see, not only with, the cloud people, the cloud messages, the star nations, the native people that are, we're very in tune, very in touch with Mother Earth, and also with the sky. And the astrological and the energy stuff that's going on. But the more I even look at this Council of Five picture, there's something else that just pinged me based on what we talked about yesterday, and the universal and the spiritual laws that we discussed that were passed down, I believe, to the Lakota people, and they were channeled from a couple of very special elders. And I'm seeing some of the symbols that correspond with the universal and the spiritual laws. It looks like some of their symbols for those laws are embedded in this depiction of this Council of Five.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow.
So quite interesting. Quite interesting.
So this is stuff, pictures I need to think about getting out, also maybe published. I'm not sure where all of this is going, but I think it's going into another book.
I can't wait, honestly.
It's still unfolding, though. That's the thing. It's not, the story is still unfolding. So
It is. And I think, those of us that are getting little pieces of downloads of information, we're connecting with each other, and we're learning about something that maybe we received, but we didn't know exactly what it was about. And then we connect
Right.
with someone who has the other piece of the information, and
Right.
we're all learning this together.
And that's when we turn to you, Miranda, to help us connect and understand what we're seeing and doing and experiencing. So how wonderful it is that we all work together
Yeah, we all are playing a part.
to bring this
And
about.
yes. I mean, and even from the perspective of, what's happening here on Earth and trying to make sense of the chaos, there's something that Alex Collier had said several years ago, and I think it was in a lecture or one of his webinars. He kept saying, don't think that disclosure is going to come on the TV in the form of, on CNN. He said, each one of you are the disclosure. Each one of you are part of the process of this. So, we're very much used to being in a society where we're used to being told, this is who you are, this is what you are, this is what you do, this is the way things are. And because we're learning who we really are, where we really came from, what our connections are, who our neighbors are, how our world and our universe works,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all part of this process.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
That's amazing. I think there's just one other download that came. Is there another one there?
I think so. Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
So in this
Yes.
one with the pink and yellow one, I really like this one.
Yeah. So the picture I received was what was on the left. It was like a half a picture. So I had to mirror it to get the full picture. And to me, he looked like he had some sort of armor on. So I did define it in the right one. Not sure his role. But I get good energy from him. Someone else looked at that and said, "Oh, it's reptilian." I said, "No, I don't get that feeling."
I don't get the reptilian. You know what I get?
No.
I get, there's a tribe in Africa. I believe they were in Mali, Mali, and the name of the tribe was the Dogon tribe, Dogon. And many, many, many years ago, there were some, I believe, archaeologists that were heading into Mali to do some archaeological digs and research for, science and history and all this stuff. And they ran into the Dogon tribe, and they learned to communicate with the Dogon tribe. And the Dogon tribe, they worshipped a deity or a god called the Nummo, Nummo. And they were an aquatic fish type being that look very similar to this, that came from Sirius B.
Oh my goodness. And okay, that would make sense because I don't show the whole picture here, but when I expand that picture, he is standing in like an opening to a cave, and there's water in there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Yes. If you want to know a little bit more about the Nummo, which was the name that the Dogon tribe gave to this aquatic fish type being that came down, and they were multidimensional beings, and they taught them things, and they taught them about astronomy, astrology. So essentially what blew the archaeologist's mind away was the fact that this Dogon primitive tribe in Africa knew exactly where the constellation of Sirius B was even before they did.
Wow.
So they were getting downloads of information about what was in the sky, what beings were there, what their purpose was, well before
yes.
these archaeologists came to visit with them. So.
Aquatic name Nummo, not Nemo.
Yes.
Nummo. I love it. Well, he was my last visitor to make himself known on my camera for a picture. And again, I almost threw that away, and I thought, no, I better look at that, because I know when they're odd like that and just stuck in between my pictures, that that I didn't take, that it must mean something. So yeah, it's like, stay tuned, I mean.
Stay tuned for sure, because I just,
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that you shared this with us. And it looks like we have one more.
Do we? Oh, okay. Oh,
Yes.
yes. Okay. So this last one, these little guys showed up when I was writing my book. Like I said, the frequency was so high, and I would leave and go to another dimension. I'm not sure where. But, I had beings in the house. I had a very large shadow man who would come and visit and watch. And they all just wanted to watch. They were curious. And this night was just like 2 nights before a full moon.
Oh,
And
wow.
the light was shining in so bright from my dining room window to where I was sitting. So I got up to go look at the moon. And this is actually looking at my neighbor's patio.
Oh,
And
okay.
they were all gathered, just looking in my window, watching. And so it's through a screen. That's why the picture on the left is so hard to see and grainy. And it was at night. And they had these lights that strung around their patio.
Okay.
So I tried to define what I saw. So the picture on the right is what I saw. And the little flyer that's on the top of that rail.
Right here?
Yes, him. He was very active because at the same time I was looking at them and taking pictures. It was shortly after that my son came in. He was out in the garage having a cigarette, and he had closed the garage door. It was chillier, I guess, that night. But he came in. Now, this was after midnight when I took this picture. He came in and he said, something just ran up the driveway, up over the garage roof and down. And I said, you're kidding. He said, no. He said, I was in the garage. I heard it. He said, all I know is I had to cut. He said, I grabbed the baseball bat first. Knowing who it was. And then he said, I came in the house to tell you. And I said, well, look at this picture. I said, I'll bet it was one of these guys out there that just, the little flyer came crawling over the roof or something. But he had the activity outside when I saw all these guys. So there was all sorts of activity when I was working on this book because they were curious. They had not seen anything like this. They didn't know I could see them. And, they were hanging around to see what I was doing. But I could go to this other dimension and see them and talk to them and tell them to go away if I was busy. Don't bother me. And they did. And it was the vibration of the book itself that brought me to that dimension. And then I would just turn for something and snap out of it and be back in reality. So it was quite an experience doing this.
It's just amazing what you are able to capture or what you're able to see to know, oh, I need to take a picture of this, or even in the ones where the pictures just show up on the camera. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
And I think this is where that Mr. Santilli's telescope.
Yes. So I'm
really
going
to see
I'm
what
going to go ahead and go back to
sure.
regular mode. Stop sharing.
There.
And then let's see. Okay. Now
look through his telescope to see what he's seeing.
Yeah. So for just to kind of catch the listeners, the watchers up on this. So I had communicated with Deanne several times, and one of the things that I was introduced to was a paper by a man by the name of Ruggero Maria Santilli. And the paper, it's probably a little bit of a dry read for those who are not necessarily familiar with the scientific papers in the community, but I'm going to just read a little bit about the abstract and why I sent it to Deanne, because it's really quite interesting. The name or the title of the paper is apparent detection via new telescopes with the concave lenses of otherwise invisible terrestrial entities. So he calls them ITEs. The abstract discusses and says, by using telescopes with concave lenses known as Santilli telescopes, which are trademarked and patent pending by the U.S. publicly traded company Thunder Energies Corporation, we review preceding evidence for the apparent existence of antimatter galaxies, antimatter asteroids, and antimatter cosmic rays. Independently from these astrophysical detections, we present for the first time evidence for the apparent existence of entities in our terrestrial environment that are solely visible via telescopes with concave lenses, while being invisible to our eyes and to conventional Galileo telescopes with convex lenses, which entities leave dark images in the background of digital cameras attached to the Santilli telescopes. I think it's really, really interesting that using a different type of lens and looking at things in a different way allows us to be able to see things that we wouldn't normally see with the naked eye. And here we have you who's able to notice these anomalies in the clouds and intuitively know when to take a picture and to be able to bring forth the images that you're seeing in the dark spaces and where the figures are, and that they're actually telling us a story. They're teaching us so much. So
I think it's fascinating too that I am allowed to capture them on film. You know, so many people say, well, I see angels, but I can't take a picture of them. And I am, part of this gift is I'm allowed to take pictures and show and share them. Yeah.
I just think it's wonderful that here we have science saying that, you know, if we use a different lens, if we do things differently, we can see things that we wouldn't normally see. And here you're able to capture it on film or on a camera, and then you're able to really bring forth the images that we would otherwise need a very expensive telescope for.
Yeah.
So if anything, I'm hoping that it encourages people to look up and be curious, take pictures, even if it's something that maybe they don't necessarily know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you've developed this relationship with spirit and the messages. And, you know, when you're unsure, they give you the information right there. And they really do nudge you, point you, direct you in the right direction for all of this to come through. And it's just so neat. It's just so neat.
And like you say, and to the right people, nudges me to the right people, such as yourself. And I have been introduced to Leisha and other people who are helping and guiding me. So we're all teachers to each other, and it's just fabulous. It is exciting to watch it unfold for everybody. It's unfolding for everybody, you know.
It really is. And the other thing that I was going to say too is, you know, you self-published, not really. Again, I think I literally feel like I can see you standing there in your bathrobe and you're talking to the sky, and, you know, and you went on to publish this book, self-publish.
Yes. Yeah, because it was different. You wouldn't find a publisher to do this. It was too unconventional. So just my camera and me, and did a self-published book. So I did have some guidance for the steps of publishing, which I was grateful for. So I think I was, that in itself was a learning journey. I had never done that before either. So, you know, the pictures are what they are. They're from my camera. They're not a high-speed, expensive camera, and the publishing is simple, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. So, and that was what I'm supposed to do. So,
I guess the one thing I want to ask before we close and finish up is, what advice would you have for someone who is experiencing something similar to what you experienced? What advice would you give, looking back now that you've been on this crazy journey, and it sounds like we're moving to the next chapter very, very soon?
I would say welcome it with open arms. Don't doubt it, because at this time we are all being given our gifts, and they're They are activating when they are supposed to as a collective. There's groups of people all of a sudden having a gift that they never knew they had. Don't be afraid of it. Welcome it. Ask for guidance. Nurture it, and find your spiritual side to help it build and grow, because you're being given this gift to help humanity. And that's what our job is right now, is to help humanity move on past this time and into this new dimension. So you are worthy. You are, absolutely valued, and that gift is important. Don't doubt it for one reason, for any reason at all. Don't let anybody tell you you don't have a gift. Don't let anybody tell you it's crazy or it's not important. You got to follow it. So
that's wonderful advice. Wonderful advice. And I feel like I resonate with a lot of people, especially those that are kind of, or why is it coming for me, or why is this, or may feel like this doesn't seem normal, or we shouldn't do this, or this doesn't,
right.
So I think that's important, very important advice. And I'm glad that you followed the advice. Grateful for your parents showing you that little to let you to I'm just grateful that you all of these photos and knowledge and the pictures today. So thank you as always.
Oh, thank you, Miranda. This has been a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
And for viewers and listeners, I'm going to be putting a link to Deanne's site where you can purchase her book. I'll also be putting a link to the abstract on Santilli's telescopes. And then I will also be putting a link to an article related to the Star Nations and the Cloud people and the Native Americans that go into a little bit more detail. There was so much more we could have, but I wanted to make sure we got to the actual pictures themselves, because some of those were really, really neat. Especially, I think my favorite was actually the one with the Nemo, the fish aquatic being at the very end. So,
oh, I loved your explanation. That was really nice. That now I'll have to go read about that.
If I can find an article on the Nemo, I will include that as well in the description when I post this on YouTube. So that way everybody will have some reading materials for later. But I just, again, want to thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and just be willing to share this information with us. And it is a gift that definitely needed to be shared. And I just thank you so much for joining me today.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for the listeners and watchers today who are here still with us. And I definitely encourage you to go and purchase Deanne's book. And I appreciate your support here on the YouTube channel. If any of this resonates, please feel free to like, subscribe, or share with others that might be interested. And we will see you next time. Sending you all so much love.
Bye-bye.
Bye.